to commas.
Commas is all things tech.
You see culture and technology coming together.
Life hacks.
The practicality right now and the inefficiency of the internet of buying and selling stuff is extraordinary.
Entrepreneurship advice.
I think the first thing is you got to understand your business inside out.
Love and tech.
They've almost reduced dating to kind of this very momentary snap of a person.
It's gonna be a fire show.
I have yet to see something these days that's truly differentiated.
New advice and new inspiration every show.
It really is about the next generation of creatives going faster, further than we did.
And now, Sequoia Blodgett.
Now let's start stacking them commas.
On this episode, we'll hear from Vernell Woods, the founder of Moolah Mobile, and we'll learn when it's the right time to pivot.
Entrepreneurship advice. Learn from the hottest and most successful investors, founders, and innovators in the game.
Determine your greatness.
It's time to get your knowledge up.
Okay, for sure.
Ayo, what's poppin'? We have got a special guest, Vernell Woods, on the line, founder of Moolah Mobile. Vernell, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
That's what's up. So before we get into all the details of what you've built, because it is absolutely incredible, tell us a little bit about your background.
Oh, man, a little bit about me. From Virginia, from Suffolk, well, actually I'm from Norfolk, but I grew up in Suffolk, Virginia. I went to Nans River High School. Shout out to VA. But then came down to Georgia, went to Georgia Tech, had some fun out here. And then from there, Atlanta's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I lived there for 3 years.
Oh my God, Atlanta's crazy. And so I'm still here, but having a good time out here. And then from there, I joined the kind of whole entrepreneurial world. Started creating my first company, and kind of been doing it ever since.
That's what's up. So at what point, because I know you were working with Grand Hustle, when did that transition happen? Was that while you were in school, or when was that?
Oh man, that's a crazy story. But
I want to know it. Tell us.
But no, so I was in school. I just left working some Department of Defense stuff. I think I was working at Raytheon or somewhere, and they got paid a whole bunch, way more money than I got paid. And I was like, yeah, this corporate world really ain't for me. I was like, I can't really do it. So then I went and I created this company called Yopima, and I was going around trying to raise money. It was really tough. We're just gonna put it like that. Trying to raise money as a young 21-year-old kid that had never done it before, young black kid in Atlanta, in an environment where it really isn't a place to raise money for tech. At least not back then. It was a challenge. So I ended up meeting up with Tip, and then I told him about what I was doing. He fell in love with it, and we've been close ever since.
So what was it that you were doing? What was the product at the time?
Yopima. So what we did, I was young. It was my college years. But we actually invented this technology that would tell you what girls and guys were inside the club before we went. Right, so we were always going to the club, we were always going out, we were always partying, but it was never what it looked like, right? The club would be wrapped all the way around and whatnot. It wouldn't be a whole bunch of people there. So we actually invented this technology that pretty much everybody uses today, where we compare. It's called comparative geofencing, the tech word. But basically, we compare what it was like in one location from another location, and we would just tell you what was going on inside.
So that's interesting. So you basically would tell people if this club was popping or not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
dope. So, because they have their whole marketing strategy where you're standing outside, you think the line is long, you get inside, it's whack, but your technology basically said, hey, it's actually really whack in there. Maybe you want to go down the street. Is that what happened?
Exactly.
That is so dope. Okay, and so after that happened, Tip got word, you pitched it to him. Did he come on as an investor? Did he come on as a partner? Like, what was that relationship?
At first, he came on as a skeptical person. Like, I don't know about this, right? I'm like, just being completely honest. He was like, he needed to like learn about it, and that's one thing I can really say about Tip. He really took the time to really understand what I was doing, and he hasn't been like one of those kind of like people that you would imagine be a celebrity, and they kind of be like, all right, here's the money and go away, because he did give me money, he did become an investor, but he also made it really important that he wanted to be a partner, he wanted to be involved, because in his eyes, I was really young, there was a lot I needed to learn, and being honest, he was completely right. Like, there was so much I needed to learn, and there's so much that he had already been through that just his experience helps me kind of like avoid bumping my head doing the same thing, or kind of like, he's like, hey, don't go that way. I've been that way. I'm like, all right, for sure, let's not go that way. And so having that person beside me, it just helps a lot.
That's super dope. So what happened to the technology? What did you end up doing with the company?
It actually, we rolled it into this company, into Moolah. So we ended up getting a patent. So for us, right, we just started growing and blowing, like we were growing way too fast. I don't know if you know there's a such thing, but there is a such thing in tech where you're growing faster than what we were evolving and what we had scaled to do, scaled to become, right? And so we were learning a lot, we were evolving, and being honest, I was young. And I had built something crazy. I had patented this thing, and we had 1 million people on it. And it wasn't evolving fast enough. And there were so many clubs that we needed to get involved in that it was just like, okay, we got to build out this technology the right way, and we got to scale this the right way. So when we came back to the drawing boards to make it better, Moolah fell into our lap. So with the technology, we had 1 million people on it, but they weren't staying because the technology wasn't evolving the way it should have. So we either could keep focusing on that, or we could try and evolve and kind of use the technology in a better way, because we didn't expect to get a patent off of it. We didn't realize what we had created, because we were just trying to tell you what club was hot, right? We didn't realize that what we were using was the basis behind what they use in advertising and what they use everywhere around the world in geofencing. And we were able to patent it. So we wanted to find a better use for that.
Two things. I want to definitely get into Moolah, or the details of it, because it's super interesting. But before we do that, you scaled the company to 1 million people. Like, how did you do that? Because that is a feat in itself. So let's start there.
Oh man, I had a crazy marketing team. I had some great guys on my team. That just shout out to my team. I wish I could take the credit for it, but I had a great team. And then when you add Tip to the mix, and you add some really cool parties in New York and Maserati dealerships and stuff like that, right? It gets kind of excited, and users come fast. So we know how to do it, right? That's why everybody's like, hey, Vernell, why haven't you done it in Moolah yet? I'm like, no, we know how to do it. You got to be smart to go about it, because it'll come fast.
Yeah, that's insane. So now let's talk about Moolah. So what exactly is it now? You actually pivoted from the original product. So where are you at with it now, and how are you bringing it to market? Is it the same marketing strategy, or is it something completely different?
You know, it's a crazy pivot that we made, right? So we went from like clubs and figuring stuff out to figuring out which club to go to actually building an entire phone system. And so right, I know that was a big pivot, right? But
that's a whole new business.
Whole new business, right? Look, we're way left. No, but no. So what it is simply a mobile ecosystem, and that's just a kind of techie way of saying we have a home screen, a wallet, and a marketplace. And you can download the app out of the store, and it's going to give you these cool home screens you can choose from to make your kind of like, it's for like phones when you don't really got the budget for a $1,000 iPhone or like a $700-800 phone. You're like, look, it's college budget. I'm only trying to spend like $200, but I still want to have that look, that feel, that feeling, right, of a quality phone. And I kind of want to change it up every once in a while, but I want to make money from my phone. For people like that, that's what this product is for. That's who we built it for. So they can go in, they can kind of customize the way it looks and feels, and then in each one of these home screens, there's ads that's running. But instead of using like Facebook and everywhere else, where you're seeing all these ads and you're not making anything back, we give you 10% of what we make in the form of Moolah. It goes into your wallet, and then once you've made enough, you can use it to pay your phone bill, buy gift cards to like Walmart, Domino's, Home Depot, all your favorite stores. So you're literally just every single day, all day, just using your phone, making money, and then being able to just spend it in real life.
That is crazy. So what was the growth strategy for this? Because it's a whole new business from the first one.
Oh, see, we're just now getting into it, just being honest. We wanted to spend so much time. We learned from Yopima, right? We wanted to spend a lot of time on the product. Before we allowed this to scale and grow and get to all the people, we wanted to make sure it wasn't messing up people's phones. We wanted to make sure people liked it. We wanted to make sure that you were making money. We wanted to make sure that the gift cards were getting to you the right way. We wanted to build out customer service. We really wanted to build a quality business. And so that's what we've been focused on. And so now we've made a lot of strides in that. And now we're getting ready to begin scaling. We have some amazing partners right now. So rather than us doing it by ourselves, we went and partnered with a couple phone companies. So if you guys haven't heard about Surge Mobile out there, just type in Surge, or I think it's like, SURGE Mobile. They're one of the MVNOs, but they actually sell Moolah-based phones pre-installed with Moolah on it. And so they're helping us push this year. So it's going to be exciting.
That is a huge deal. How did you lock in those partnerships?
Luck? Some of it, I'm being honest, some of it is luck, but it's a lot of it is just having the right partners and knowing some of the people from the past, right? So some of the people we got introduced to in the past with Tip, and some of the people that we had met along the way, just in business, just meeting investors and whatnot. We ended up just to have to run across a couple different MVNOs, and then we just started mixing them, pairing them together, and doors started opening.
I think that's a super interesting story because I feel like a lot of people start a company, they get attached to the company, they don't want to give up the company, or when they do pivot, it's not such an extreme pivot. When did you know that it was time to literally give up the company that you started before and literally change directions to a whole new company?
Well, it was like, you got to remember that when you're creating something, sometimes you like to think it's your baby. But when you bring in other people's money, you become their investors. So you have other investors that you have to kind of meet expectations with. And when they're like, hey, we're growing and we're going in debt and we're not making money and we don't have enough money, right, that kind of makes you make some quick decisions.
I love that. I love that because you're saying that you had a huge base, like in terms of your user base, but you still weren't able to become profitable enough for an investor or your investors to care. Like, essentially,
well, it wasn't that. No, let me not say that because I love my investors and they definitely cared. It's just the business model wasn't developed enough to not need another $20 to $30 million, right? Like it would have meant I would have had to go down that same kind of path that the Facebooks and some of the others went down, where I would have had to literally go to most VCs, raise that $500,000 round, raise that 2.5, raise that $5 million, which is definitely doable. But for us and what we were doing, we felt it was a little bit more fitting, right, to do something that generated a little bit more cash quicker.
Awesome. And so what's the business model for the new company? I know advertising is one of the huge influxes in terms of revenue generation for you guys, but is there anything else that you guys are using to generate revenue for your investors to look at this company and be like, okay, that's a solid win for us?
Yeah, definitely. So the advertising is definitely a really strong component for us. We're also going to be introducing kind of like custom apps and games and whatnot. Also putting a lot of different products inside of the marketplace. And that's where we're going to start right now. And we're going to be expanding. We're looking to scale quickly and introduce a lot of new products inside of the ecosystem that people are going to really enjoy. So looking forward to it.
That's dope. So what advice would you give entrepreneurs? Because you went through the gamut, especially being in Atlanta. And Atlanta is starting to become like a flourishing ecosystem.
Now.
Right, but not when you were in school, obviously. So what advice would you give entrepreneurs now who are starting up and going through that process of building a product or a service to bring to market?
The advice I would give to entrepreneurs coming up, just buckle down. Believe in yourself, and kind of don't give up, because you're gonna hit a lot of rocks in the road, right? Because you're learning, you're evolving, and depending on where you are. Now, if you've got a lot of cash and you've got a little bit of help and resources to kind of ease that burden, great. But if you went through a process like mine, you're gonna have to just be resilient. You're gonna have to stay at it, and you're not gonna take no, and you're gonna have to just keep fighting and going at it.
Just out of curiosity, how long was it from the first company to the second company?
Oh man, so maybe like 7 years.
Wow. So you have some crazy tenacity.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you got to think about how much money we brought in, how much money we made, right? I like to, when you make $1 million, lose $1 million, you learn so much. So it's definitely one of those things. And so to be back on the positive side and an even better place is definitely a blessing.
What made you say, okay, I'm going to continue on? Like, what made you say, I'm going to go for those 7 years?
What made me say I'm going to continue? I think I'm just built that way.
Yeah.
I can't say there's something that like made me when I say I'm going to do something. I do it. That's just how it works.
That's some crazy tenacity. Because most entrepreneurs by year 2 are like, you know what? Mm-mm.
I mean, I said I was going to get it done. Now, when it doesn't make sense, or we realize we can't get it done, or it no longer makes business sense, and you got to have the wisdom to kind of say, okay, we got to take our losses or move on or evolve. But if you're still on track and you're saying you set a goal, get it done.
That's what's up.
That's it.
And how do people find out about Moolah Mobile who want access to it?
They go and they can go and visit moolahmobile.com, MOOLAH mobile.com. The link to download the app is right there. You can search us in the Google Play Store. Find us on Instagram, Moolah Mobile. Yeah, we're everywhere.
And how do they find access to you?
Find access to me? Oh, man. You can follow me on Instagram at vwoods111. And that's pretty much it.
It's life hacks.
Life hacking, baby.
Tech tips and tools for everyday needs.
Tap in.
Control, copy these shortcuts and simplify your life.
You heard us.
So I'm super glad that Vernell touched up on pivoting, because a lot of entrepreneurs are going through their entrepreneurial journey and not realizing when it's time to kind of switch it up. I want to talk about what a pivot actually is, because some people are not familiar with that word, especially if you're not from the tech environment, or you didn't have a tech company prior, or you haven't necessarily been familiarized with the word. So a pivot is turning one feature of a product into a product itself, or resulting in a simpler, more streamlined offering, meaning maybe there was a feature in the product that was really, really strong. So instead of having the entire product, you literally take that feature and you make it the product, right? So the offering is then more streamlined versus having a bunch of features, and then those features are under that product's umbrella. Another definition of a pivot is actually the opposite of the previous point, in which one product is turned into a feature of a larger suite of features as part of another product. So if that one product that you have been working on feels more like a feature versus like the product, then it becomes a part of another set of features into a larger product. So totally opposite the first point, but both are a major pivot. Now, focusing on a different set of customers could be considered a pivot, meaning maybe you had one customer segment, so you didn't necessarily change the product or service, but you changed the customer. So the customer relationship to the product shifts. So essentially what happens is you see that the product makes more sense for another customer segment versus the one that you were marketing to previously, right? So that customer segment is in a different vertical. Another example of a pivot is actually changing the platform. So say you had an app and you changed it to software, or vice versa. Maybe it was a website that you changed into an app. So that could definitely be considered a pivot as well. Another really strong example is addressing a new revenue model and to increase monetization. So for example, a company might have an ad-based revenue model, and that may be generating revenue for them, but then they switch over to a freemium model and they find that model is more profitable. So that causes the company to pivot. So they're not essentially pivoting from the service or product that they're providing, but they're shifting the revenue model. And then lastly, I would definitely say using a different technology to build the product, right? So if you had a core set of tools that you were using, resources that you were using, and then you said, hey, I want to go ahead and use these core sets, then that's considered a pivot as well. So when should you know if you actually need to pivot? You realize when you aren't finding product market fit, or you're going to the market and you're trying to service the customer and you are getting maybe a little bit of traction, or you're not getting any traction at all. And you're going, okay, why? So there's a lot of variables in terms of why you wouldn't necessarily be getting traction. But it all comes down to the fact that at the end of the day, if you're working on your business for a really good long period of time, I would say 2 to 3, 4 years, especially in the tech world, because you're taught to fail fast, then you might be ready to think about pivoting. So here are some considerations when it comes to pivoting. Maybe there's just too much competition in the market. Maybe when you went to market originally, you thought that, hey, this was a really interesting product or service. And then you started to see that there was actually a lot of competitors in a very saturated market, and you couldn't get a good grasp on the market share. Then that's definitely a reason why you should consider pivoting as well. Maybe when you first put the product or service in the market and it was a unique and original idea in the beginning, and then a bigger company came with more resources and more funding and a built-in audience and literally just knocked you off your block. That's literally time when you should be considering maybe making some adjustments, right? Because you just can't compete. Another reason is the company has hit a plateau. So you start to notice that there's no progress, right? The company isn't developing the way that you think it should be developing. There's no results and things just aren't moving. And in Vernell's case, even though they had results, there still was a situation with the investors where they were like, hey, we're not really seeing a huge return on our investment because the revenue isn't generating as quickly as we think it should be. So there was a consideration for him to make a pivot because there was a more efficient strategy that, you know, the investors and Vernell's team felt like they could make to make more traction happen, right? And so speaking of traction, you start to see that there is one particular thing that's getting a lot of traction, then you may want to start to move toward that thing. So if you have a lot of feature sets and then you see something that's getting more traction, so say there's a request for one of those feature sets often, then it may be time to make your business whatever that feature set is. And then lastly, there's just a limited response from the market. So you're not getting a lot of customer response. They really don't care about the product or service. You're not really getting any traction at all. Then there might be a consideration to pivot there as well. So how do you know when it's time to pivot or actually just throw in the towel, meaning it's just time to give up, right? So startups obviously experience difficulties on their journey to success, but you have to be hyper vigilant about when it's time to make some changes or just let the whole thing go, right? The biggest way that you can make that differentiation is really just by asking yourself, can this problem actually be solved with more research, customer development, funding? If the answer is no, then you should really think very deeply about continuing on because it may just be time to give up. So how do you pivot effectively so you're not wasting a lot more resources, time, and money? You need to do it as soon as you can. As soon as you feel like it's just not on the right track, then you just got to make a decision. You as a founder, you as a CEO, it's time to just be like, yo, this is not working and make some changes. In addition to that, pick new goals that align with your vision. So, of course, we all know entrepreneurship is super hard and it requires you to be brutally honest with yourself. If the path you're on just doesn't feel right to you, it doesn't feel right to your spirit, and it makes you step back and reevaluate your mission in life, that you may need to actually say, you know what, this is just not for me. Additionally, if you do decide to pivot, don't scrap the work that you've already done because you can salvage a lot of things that you've already put into the business. You may have to change some things to make it in alignment with the direction that you're going in, but it doesn't mean that everything is a wash. You will have to make some iterations but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to throw the whole thing away. Going along with what we spoke about earlier, definitely listen to your customer because your customer is going to be very, very clear about what their needs are. If they think that the product is too expensive, they're going to say that because they're not going to be purchasing. So if you take a survey and your customer is like, hey, listen, I really like this, but I definitely think this price point's a little too high, then consider that.
If they have to go through hoops and bounds in order to get to the product or the service, then they're not going to do it. You're going to be able to see that in your data points because they're going to stop at a certain point in their customer journey, and then you will know very specifically where they're being held up at. So now you know what a pivot is. And those are some definite reasons why you should consider pivoting and how to pivot effectively. Special thanks to the Founder Institute for those highlight points.
Yo, 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 yo.
Love, life, and tech.
With Sequoia Blodgett.
Just part of our culture.
Because balance is real between the swipe culture, mental health, personal growth, career, and just about everything in between.
Just keeping it real.
It's a lifestyle.
Incredible vibes, incredible people.
Love,
Life.
and tech.
So Dating Guy is back in the building, everyone. It's been a good run, but we're going to take a moment of silence because he's officially leaving the show. Hello, Dating Guy.
Hey.
What's good?
Hey, okay. All right. So first and foremost, I have to thank you from the centermost part of my heart for even encouraging me to try out the world of just internet dating, period. Because I was pretty much like, I'll just be a hermit. I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then after hearing you and Dr. Peace, talking about the successes that you had seen in the world of internet dating, I thought, hey, I'm curious. I want to try this out. And from the first site, which was, what was the first one?
Tinder.
No, it wasn't Tinder. Oh, Lord, no. Tinder was not first. If Tinder was first, I would not have been doing anything, period. The first one was the professional one.
Oh, The League.
The League.
Okay.
So starting with The League, and The League being more of matching with like-minded business individuals. Like maybe if we're going to start a partnership and it be founded in romance, cool. League is perfect for that. Then I went to the tawdry world of Tinder.
Yes.
And
that was
Tinder is a market. Oh, it's a market. A lot of tenderloins running around there. And it wasn't necessarily for me.
Mm-hmm.
I really said, okay, cool. And I was almost out. And then you said, you should try Hinge. And my initial endeavor into Hinge, I was like, man, forget this. This is garbage. But then you were like, hey, dating app guy, you're not using the dating app correctly.
I was trying. I was trying to encourage you.
Oh my God, you were so encouraging. And you skilled me and showed me the ways of how to use it. You leveled up my app. I was leveled up. Took me to a whole nother level. And I was like, wow, this is fresh. Right off the bat. Met somebody, went out on a date.
What happened?
It was within this date that I realized I don't think I really want to date right now.
Do you think you really don't want to date, or do you think you really just don't want to date through an app?
I think I don't really want to date. Realistically, because there's one thing I know, having been married and divorced, I know that relationships take a whole lot of work.
True.
If you want a relationship to work, you have to pour into it daily and tend to it daily and nurture it as you would a flower or a garden of roses. You can't just plant them and be like, okay, cool.
That's very true.
So that's kind of what I felt I was doing. I felt like I was just planting the seed by logging on and creating a profile, but I wasn't really willing to nurture it.
Mm-hmm.
And after I went out on this last date, beautiful young lady, nothing wrong with her at all. We laughed. We went to see Aladdin. It was fun. But after I think maybe one or two more conversations with her, I thought to myself, and this may sound cold, but I really don't care what's going on in this young lady's life. And it wasn't that her life isn't interesting. It's not even that she wasn't interested. It's just that I just really couldn't find it in myself to care because I've got a lot going on right now. Mm-hmm. I got one job in the morning, a job at night, and a major job in the middle raising two kids. I don't know if I really have the type of energy that needs to go into nurturing a relationship with someone else. You know,
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it may seem selfish, but
Respect.
I don't know. I mean, I wanted to be in a relationship because I was lonely, not necessarily because I wanted to deal with anybody. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So I don't know. I mean, I feel it's only right to remove myself from the world of dating and dating apps because, like with Hinge, one beautiful thing about Hinge is, and you were so right, the questions that you create and the answers that you can give to a potential suitor to answer and respond to and engage with, people come up with really creative things to kind of like pique your interest, but also find out where you're coming from and how you answer those questions. And I really had a lot of fun with it. A lot of beautiful women on Hinge. They don't really give you a lot of background as far as like what they may do, but I did find that, I guess based on my profile, they picked a lot of choices from women who are, I guess, in a similar field. And so for me, I did appreciate that. I liked the usability of Hinge. I think of all the apps that I've been on, Hinge kind of merges all the best worlds. It gives you a peek at a potential, mate's professional life. It gives you like kind of like the league does. It gives you the swipeability kind of like Tinder does. And I would say like maybe like I'm trying to think of one of the other apps that I may have been on where they have a fun factor. Plenty of Fish, maybe.
Yeah.
There's a fun factor of answering these questions. So I think that was awesome.
I think Hinge definitely, like you said, had a combination of all of them and gave you a perspective. At least I feel like you were able to go on some dates, whereas the other ones, we didn't talk about you actually going on dates, right? So Hinge definitely, I feel like, was a success, even though that you're like throwing in the towel. But you know what? It would be a good time to suggest another app or no?
I mean, okay, here's the thing. If there is an app out there for meeting a new friend, someone where you can share common interests, but someone who's not necessarily looking for, a serious relationship. And again, I'm not in this because, I'm trying to like, get laid or I'm not. That's why I think Tinder wasn't really for me, because Tinder was like more of a wham bam, thank you ma'am site. And then a site like, at one point I was on, what's the super mating app? The one, where they match you with 72 points of matching. Match.com.
OkCupid.
No, not OkCupid. Match.com.
Oh, okay.
I was on their site and they have a whole paid profile thing where you go through all this super matching and stuff like that. But those were for people who were seriously looking to like be in a relationship. For me, I think I want to meet someone who, hey, if there's a new movie out, let's go check it out. Hey, you're hungry? Maybe we can both be free on a Tuesday night. Maybe on a Saturday morning we could walk around the Rose Bowl. I'm just not looking for like a serious, oh my God, what are our 5-year plans? I'm looking for like, hey man, like
a companion.
I like the soft, cuddly beauty that women possess. So I want to be able to hug somebody. Hey, do you know how important it is to be hugged in this world?
Yeah,
that's one thing I noticed. Like in the date that I went out on, we hugged each other and I felt like this wash of like, oh my God, I'm being hugged.
Yeah,
it's really, really deep. That connection is important.
That may be one of your 5 or not. What is it?
The 5 love language.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Touch is important to me. And again, I'm grown and I've had enough experiences in my life as someone who spent years and years in the music industry. I had a whole lot of really meaningless relationships. So I say all that to say I'm not thirsty. I'm not out there, trying to send women like, unsolicited nude pictures. And I'm not like, yo, come over to the house. I just, seriously, I just want a solid female friend, and not even like a friend with benefits. Because I know a lot of people, women here are like, you just want to be friends. I know what you want. You want the friends with benefits. It's not always like that with every dude. There's an old poem, and it says, men are like wolves. All they want to do is devour. Seek those who have had enough. They're the ones who give. Seek those who have had enough. They're the ones who give. And that poem translates to mean that essentially men are hoes until they've had enough hoeing. Find a man who has had enough hoeing in his life and who wants to really build a solid foundation of friendship, and that's who you have to find in life. Because, I got to admit, like, dudes, we're really immature and we're really not as into the world of relationships as, say, women are. Women, I think, in this society are bred for relationships. You're giving baby dolls and doll houses where you're building this perfect family with Barbie and Ken.
Listen, she had a convertible, a pool.
Right.
Kim was fine.
I mean,
had kids.
But that's the dream. Now it's turned into Real Housewives of whatever city in America. But I think for dudes, our whole lives are conquer, conquer, conquer. Here's your toy guns. Here's your G.I. Joe. Here's your action heroes and He-Man, conqueror of the universe. Conquer, conquer, conquer. Be strong. Destroy. Take the princess by the hair. And so we kind of grow up with that. That's a lot of the imagery that guys are given. Then you grow up and you're hanging out in high school and you hear every song out there. When you're in high school is slam, pass them along. Every little where I go. It's on and on and on. So after a certain point of time, it's after a guy's had enough of those silly relationships in their lives that they go, hey, man, that's not really what life is about. And that's kind of where I am, where I'm like, what life is about? It's about finding someone that you can grow old with. And I don't know if in this society we have that old school mentality where, now it's so, hey, I met you on a Tuesday, so Friday marriage? It's weird. It's really, really weird. And that's what I think scared me off originally from a lot of dating sites was the, we ain't getting no younger, we might as well do this kind of mentality, or the, hey, I'm free, I'm a woman, I'm here to get my screw on just like you. And I'm like, whoa, that's not cool either.
That's such an interesting perspective. And I love that you brought all of those things up. And I really think you just described Facebook. So I think we have found the app for you, actually. I think she's on Facebook, right? Because you're going to get her as a friend. There will be no expectations.
Yeah.
You can slide in her DMs and be like, hey, let's hang out. It's not like you came at her on an app. You know what I mean?
Isn't that creepy, though, sliding in someone's
No,
DMs?
that's how me and the last guy were dating. We started just hanging out, and then we started dating. So it wasn't
but
even
you slide into your DM.
Yeah, like we started talking based off of a post that I put up, right? And so I don't think it's creepy at all. I think it's really natural because a lot of people are actually just connecting on Facebook. Otherwise, like, why are you like collecting a bunch of friends? like why do I have 2,000 friends who don't talk to me? What's the point? You guys just want to see what I post?
No, I think when you reach a certain age, Facebook is like a high school reunion every day where, like, folks who you grew up with, who may not live in the same city anymore, you're seeing their kids. They're seeing your kids. Like, all of my friends for the past, 3 weeks, it's been all about graduation. And each and every one of us are, oh, man, that's fresh. Congrats. You doing your thing as a dad. Go ahead, Ma, you raising that boy. Like, that's what it's about for me. Like, everyone that's on my Facebook page, I'd say 85, maybe 90% of the people that I'm connected with are actually friends that I grew up with in my city and who I either went to high school with or either maybe even old industry colleagues who we just came up, so it's like keeping in touch with people, seeing how their lives are doing. I don't really have a lot of people who are, just friends on Facebook. There are a few industry people who have followed me and caught up with me just to every once in a while ask me some type of advice on something. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Boom. But I think I do have just a lot of friends. I think when you get to a certain age, it's just keeping up with folks.
Yeah, but I feel like every single person that you have as a Facebook friend can't necessarily be in a relationship and married with kids.
No,
right?
no. There's a lot of us that are divorced.
That's what I'm saying. So that's a pool. That's a segment, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I would say definitely pay attention to that. I was actually going to bring up another app that I came across, even though you're anti-app at the moment, but Melissa Jeffries, she is a Black female. She graduated from Yale. She has an app called Wingly. And so the reason I came across her is because she does dating mixers in LA.
Okay.
So she'll do the dating mixer, and her app came out after the mixer. So now in order to access the mixer, you have to download the app. And it's video. So everything's video. So it's not pictures. You talk to the person. You can see the person via video before having to go through the whole process. And I think I talked about this before with somebody recently, is when you're dating somebody via an app and some pictures and some text, is actually a 2-dimensional image of them. You don't actually get to see the 3-dimensional feel until you're actually in the person's face. So I feel like having that video breaks down that barrier. So I don't know. It might be something you want to pay attention to. I know her last mixer was in Century City, and now she has one coming up in downtown LA. So you actually get to see the people who are interested on this app prior, or you can meet them at the mixer, which means you're meeting them in a space where a bunch of people are already at. So it's not like you're going on a date. It's like, hey, meet me at the mixer. Like, I'll see you at the mixer. Like, it's casual. You know what I mean?
So she took Marco Polo and turned it into a dating app.
I have no idea.
Because Marco Polo is basically, short little video chats. Like if you have Marco Polo, like if I have it and a woman that I know has it, we can just, instead of making a phone call, I can just record like a 1-minute-long, 2-minute-long video, whatever. Just, hey, how you doing? Here's what's going on. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
and they get it.
Maybe. I think the cool thing about it is you can actually meet this person at the mixer. And I think that's interesting because it's not like you're only going to meet that person. You can see a bunch of different people. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm going to be at the mixer. You going to be at the mixer? Okay, cool. It's not like, oh, we're going to date at the mixer. You know what I mean? So I think that's a different, you know what I mean? It's a different perspective. I don't know. I know you're anti-dating app right now, so maybe. I'm not giving up faith in you. I feel like we can get this together, even though you want to take a break. So take a break, take a breather.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be back. And before I come back, whether it be Wingly or something else,
or Facebook.com.
Which one?
Or Facebook.com.
Facebook.com. That's weird to me. That's like weird. That's almost like I got to get the idea of that being creepy out of my head, because I just, there's so much drama on Facebook, and I really try to avoid. I really, outside of just, hey, liking what friends are doing and them like what I'm doing, I post like, things that have to do with my job. And that's about it, just to, kind of like, promote the job and stuff like that. But, Facebook as it's
actually, Facebook is supposed to roll out a dating app. So
really,
they did roll it out. They rolled it out. I don't want to quote the countries because I don't want to be off, but they did roll it out in certain countries to test it. So eventually it will be coming to the United States. So even though it feels weird to you right now, it's actually going to turn into a dating app at some point.
Wow.
Not the entire platform, but it'll be a segment of the platform, like a feature set. So I really still have very high hopes, but it looks like it might be time for you to take your pivot away from the dating app world.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Who knows though? I may be back. I mean, you really have, got me interested in this idea and notion about the possibility maybe that Facebook could become a platform? Weird, but I'm not mad.
All right, dating app guy. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for gracing our studios with your stories. And hopefully this is not the end. I don't feel like it is. All we can do is stay tuned.
This is The Plug.
You know who's the plug.
It's time to get caught up on the hottest in tech.
Keep it locked, you heard?
With Sequoia Blodgett.
I see you, little mama.
There are constantly trends that are changing within industries, and we have to keep abreast of the information because as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as founders, we need to know what's going on all the time, right? And originally when we built up Commas, we had the idea of making sure that we were giving you information around marketing, sales, publicity, basically how to get your business off the ground. But as we grew and we iterated, we found that that just wasn't enough. So what we did in order to enhance the services is we have brought you guys the Commas Club. What the Commas Club is an entrepreneurship community and support system for founders. So think about it like this. When you start a business, you don't have a lot of capital and you go into it. Sometimes you have a co-founder if you're lucky. Many times you're a solo founder and you go through this process trying to build this business and you end up being customer service. You end up being marketing. You end up being all of these titles which don't allow you to focus on the main title in order to grow the business, which is the CEO. So what we've done is we've given you guys that opportunity through our platform where you can enroll onto the site and essentially we're your team until you can afford to hire one. If that sounds like you, reach out to us at commasclub.com. In order to keep the community exclusive and effective, enrollment opens a few times a year. So go ahead and join our wait list.